So I am Michelle Malpass, the VP of Community at Traction on Demand, a very proud B Corp. Like many people that serve the nonprofit sector, I was in it for a very long time with the Take a Hike Youth at Risk Foundation. So I was the executive director there in fundraising consulting before that and the Intercultural Association. And I always thought I would be. And then the opportunity came up about 10 years ago to start Traction for Good. Traction at the time was 10 people. We were a small Salesforce consulting company. We've grown to 1,000 people since then. And it's been quite a journey of growth when it comes to Traction itself. As
Michelle had a little storm this morning where she is. So I think she's trying to sign back on, but I can keep going. My name's Emily. I work with Michelle. I'm the social impact manager, and I'm sure she'll be right back on. But I know for their journey on B Corp, when Michelle came to start Traction for Good around 2013, that's when they actually heard of B Corp. And as they started looking into it, her and Greg, so the founder, actually went through all the questions themselves, and it was just an amazing tool for them for things that they hadn't even thought about before. And we'll go into that a little bit more as we go through the journey. But as you see here on this graph, T for G, so our Traction for Good really started with community engagement and doing our volunteer hours, and it moved on to pro bono and service grants. So Michelle always likes to say, give what we're good at, and we're good at implementing and consulting on Salesforce. So we really love to support nonprofits and really remove that barrier of budget because it can be expensive to do digital transformation. So we love to give those service grants just to be able to allow kind of smaller nonprofits to get in there. And then B Corp, so we'll get into that. That really helped us grow and think about not just philanthropy, but also what greater impact that we can do. So now we're kind of in our intentional and integrated portion of our journey. And I did want to just chat about that a little bit. So this is what our impact kind of bucket looks like at Traction. So you'll see that's Traction for Good. So that was the service grants and our volunteer portion. And now we have a Chief Impact Officer, which was really brought about by B Corp. Just, some of the questions are like, what does your board look like? And diversity in there. So we have a whole impact team. We've gone from 3 people to 9 in the past year. And we have a sustainability bucket. So that's really what I own. So I'm doing Traction's carbon footprinting. We have a goal to be carbon neutral in the next year. And that's with the use of the Salesforce Sustainability Cloud. We also have a team working on justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. And this year we're really focused on putting out that first survey to see where we are with diversity. Also, we have every month we do Jedi exploration. So we get a panelist. And actually yesterday we did an immigrant journey, and we had our Traction employees share. So we really like to share those stories so people can understand where others have come from, and also just relate to something that you might not have experienced. And then we also have growth. So we have a Traction Access program where we bring on new immigrants to Canada and also Indigenous people. And we usually work with another organization to kind of do soft skills training. And then we train in Salesforce to just really give them, be able to scale up. And we are regionally expanding into Winnipeg. So we can talk about that a little bit more, but we really want to go take that Traction Access and bring Salesforce and tech jobs into smaller communities. So really exciting to be joining you there. Okay, so Traction as a B Corp. We were one of Canada's first 100, which was amazing. Like Michelle said, we started in 2013. And it just really helped us stay accountable and be transparent for our employees and also the community. And we were actually awarded Best Workers for 6 years in a row. So that's super important because We'll talk about it a little bit more, but the workers section really has to do with pay equity and living wage. I see Michelle coming on now. Living wage, but also, like I said, the diversity with the board, with our managers, female, and the tech industry can be a little bit more male oriented. So yeah, we're trying to focus on allowing or looking for more women and more people of diverse that might not be looked at or know that there are jobs in this field. And then just Michelle, can you hear us? Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm having some not pleasant internet issues. I'm so sorry about that. And I'm glad that Emily was able to take over. Thanks, Em.
Yeah, I just did a little intro, but if you want to tell any other stories, but we're just going into why B Corp. So, why you and Greg really jumped in.
Absolutely. I can pick up the why and then just quickly kind of maybe talk a little bit more about that early stage when we became a B Corp.
Yeah.
So really the big piece of the why for us is the holistic approach to impact. I mentioned just briefly at the beginning that it's beyond community. It's really kind of going into environment and workers as well, and governance. But to me, the one that Michelle Reed mentioned that's a really big one is the benchmark piece. So you don't know what to measure if you don't know what's out there. And what's really great about the assessment is that you have to recertify every 3 years. And so it really gives you an opportunity to improve. And I know the first time, there's 200 points you can get to be a B Corp, and you need 80 points to be one. And a lot of companies that try the first time, it's hard. Like they get 30, 40, 50, and you really have to dig deep and improve a lot of your policies and create new programming to get to that 80. And our first time we were 83. So we just got under, and that was in 2013. And then, that gave us a lot of points for us to improve. And we were able to look at that assessment over those next couple of years and say, okay, hey, how can we get to the next level? And right now we're at 101. So great. Now we have 99 points that we can get. And so part of Emily's role right now, we have to recertify in about 10 months, is saying, okay, well, what are the quick wins? What are the things that we really want to try and aim for? And I love that we have that benchmark and the accountability for us to really learn and grow. Michelle Reed also mentioned values aligned recruitment. This has been a really big one for us. If somebody doesn't know what B Corp is when they join, they find out very quickly and love it. And so I think, there's a really big competitive market, especially in tech. So it's been a really great thing for us. And also the values aligned community. So Michelle mentioned, that movement piece. And when we look at vendors, we often try and find other B Corps. There are a ton of resources, no matter what you want to improve on, whether it's in sustainability, there's a huge group there. There's the BCO local events, which are really great to get together with your local B Corps. And so just a ton of benefits for sure when it comes to being a B Corp. Now, quickly, I know, Emily, you may have touched on some of the stuff around sort of that beginning point, and I'd love to just kind of pick up where you left off just for a few minutes here on that road. Now, you probably saw the slide around corporate social integration. And for me, that was a tipping point. So we started out relatively traditional with small donations and team volunteering. And our community engagement program, it's not that is not good. We still do that. We still have our time for good volunteer hours. We do matching campaigns. We encourage everybody to volunteer and donate and give their time to causes they care about. It's just no longer enough to just do that. So while it is the foundation of our programming, we've added many layers. That second layer was around kind of pro bono and Salesforce services. So we really believe that given what we're good at is where we can have the greatest impact in our community. And that was giving away our skill set in Salesforce to small grassroots nonprofits. Now, when we first started, we did a few pro bono programs, and we found that free isn't always valued. There was sort of no buy-in from the board. If it didn't work, it didn't matter. They kept on coming back. And so we developed our service grants program. And now we've given over $2.7 million in service grants. And it's not about the money. I remember our first one, it was a $20,000 project, and I think they paid around $1,500. But that was a big deal to them. And they were really invested in the project. And so just to give you a sense of how sort of that evolved. And when we became a B Corp and so we've evolved over the years, we really kind of broadened our impact horizon to include, I believe Emily mentioned JEDI, the Justice, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, as well as our sustainability practice and the path to carbon neutral. So it's been really fun to kind of see the evolution and kind of add all these really layers to it. And when I think of B Corp, to me, that is now really the foundation for our growth. We can aim for those 200 points. I don't know, Michelle, actually, it would be interesting to, if there are any companies that have achieved full points. But to me, there's so much that we can do. And actually, Emily just pulled up some of the examples. So just to give you a taste of what the certification is like, we've just kind of pulled up a few things here that we've done. So in the community category, there was something around the board of directors ensuring that there's representation, female representation. And we didn't have that at first. And so over a couple of years ago, we said, you know what, this is important. And we sought that out. So that was kind of thanks to B Corp for giving us that push. We do a ton of donation matching campaigns this year around Black Lives Matter. We do a Christmas holiday campaign, Pink Shirt Day. We have a huge team in India, and we just did a huge matching campaign for the crisis that's going on there with COVID. So lots that we can kind of do there. And then our volunteer time, like I said, we have a Time for Good a Time for Good volunteer program. Now, what we want to work on for the next research, kind of getting more solidified around our procurement and maybe looking at partnerships and supply chains, and also just more inclusive hiring practices. We're doing well, but we want to do better. And so we've kind of developed some metrics and working on that as well over the coming year. And you can go to the next one. So with environment, one of the areas you can get points is LEED certified building. So we were in that as Traction on Demand. And then of course, the potential new project is around being carbon neutral and kind of going on that path. So the environment was a bit of a challenging one for us because a lot of it was not applicable because we're not a Patagonia or a brewery that has really massive supply chains. And we also had a building where we were in a shared building. So we were trying to get, hey, what about for our unit? How much are we using? And that was really challenging information to get. So that was, something that we ran into a little bit of a challenge. And then the next category, did you already go over some of those? All right, so with governance, they wanted us to have a mission statement that included something around purpose. So actually, we just went through a session with the Social Purpose Institute and ran through a whole kind of session around including social purpose and impact into our mission statement. So that was a really fun process to go through. And also another one with points was having job descriptions that have social and environmental performance included. So again, that was another thing that we, with our chief impact officer and our impact team growing, as well as our people team, we were able to tackle as well. And then one that we're working on right now, we haven't really done impact reporting for the board. And so that's something we're working on right now, getting all of our ducks in a row to ensure that we have better reporting and better metrics on that. Okay. And then customers. So this was a really fun one. What I found when we first started our service grants program is we served a lot of grassroots nonprofits, but as we grew, it was harder and harder to serve those smaller organizations because we got bigger, processes got longer. And so actually we kind of went back to our roots over the last 6 to 8 months and started a group called North Star. And we removed them from many financial targets, and it's specifically targeted to small grassroots nonprofits, smaller projects, and really larger grants for these organizations. So that was a really great initiative we had. And then another one that we're working on is Purpose Project. So this is bringing the B Corp values and figuring out how we can support other companies to kind of be on this route as well. And we're just about to launch our first one with a customer in about a week or two. So really excited to head on that path with our customers. And I think that was the last category there. So here I have our information here. Emily Dodge, she's the one that's owning this BCorp assessment. So if you have any questions at all about that process, a company actually going through it, please reach out to Emily. And then we also have Kim, who's our Director of Impact Operations, and she has been working on more like the growth initiative with that impact lens. And we're going into Manitoba, which is extremely exciting for us, and would love to open up to some questions. But I leave before that, I'm going to pass it on to Andrew and Suzanne, who I believe are going to start talk a little bit about their B Corp journeys as well in Manitoba, and then open up to some questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. Give me 1 second. I got our slides going. Okay. How does that look? Okay, I'll assume everything's good. Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew Boardman. I'm really thrilled to be here. And again, thanks, Michelle, for that really interesting lecture presentation. I'm honored to be here with Suzanne Braun, and we both run digital studios here in Winnipeg, and we're co-directing Be Local Manitoba, which just got off the ground about a year ago. And there are dozens of other Be Locals all around the world, so we're in good stead, including Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal, a lot of other awesome places. So we have our very own local Manitoba, Be Local in Manitoba, so it's super awesome. And then I'll turn this over to Suzanne.
So what brings us together, well, Andrew and myself, is that, of course, like we both have very similar companies, but we both of our companies were certified B Corps, which is why we're here today. We connected just probably around 2018. And I think we're fairly kindred spirits, partners in industry pain as well as B Corp recertification. But we thought it might be helpful to tell you a little bit about Be Local Manitoba, and then about our own particular journeys to becoming B Corps as well. So do we have the deck up, Andrew?
Oh, is it not showing?
No.
It's not on, Andrew.
Okay, awesome.
Technology
Hold on 1 second. I thought I shared screen. I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. This should be a little bit better. Okay, there we go. So you know what?
Right.
There's a certified B Loco, and Suzanne, take it away. Sorry.
All right. So here are the companies that make up Be Local Manitoba. So, you know, Andrew and I talked several years ago about trying to get some community going here. And last year we all kind of came together, and we've kind of tripled in size the past year, and we're in good company. So there's quite a range of businesses, from Momenta, which is an adventure programming and outdoor education company, to Mondetta, which became B Corp certified this year. They make sustainable activewear. The other B Corp members are BDC, Manitoba Harvest, Frontiers North, Peaceworks Technology Solutions, and Assiniboine Credit Union. And of course, our latest member, which we welcome to Manitoba Traction on Demand. We're thrilled to have them on the list with us now. So all these companies have gone through the certification process and have committed their businesses to creating positive social and environmental impacts in our city, in our province, in our nation, and also globally.
So this is our two companies, and we thought we'd just give, like Suzanne, just a little background about our journey. Manoverboard is a mission-driven design studio with a focus on, essentially providing design strategy and branding and digital solutions to mostly nonprofits, foundations, educational institutions, and conscious companies. And then in terms of my own journey to B Corp, I moved here from New York about 15 years ago, and around 10 years ago, I saw that a number of our clients in New York had certified, and one of them in particular, an impact investment firm, said, "Hey, can you put the B Corp logo in our footer of our website?" And I said, "Oh yeah, that's interesting." So I kind of had to think about it. Well, what is this? Is this some kind of weird cult or something else? And I did my research and said, "Oh, this is a really, really interesting and important moment." And I took the B Impact Assessment. I think it was 2012. Failed miserably. I think we got a score of like 60 or 50 or something like that. But the beautiful thing about the assessment is you can continue to work. If you work, you will increase your score, like Michelle is indicating. About a year later, I took the assessment again. Scored 86 in 2013. And just in terms of the business value, I'd say, B Corp has really been like just so good for Manoverboard. While the certification process and the cert itself doesn't really define us, it's really inherent to the work we do and the things we think about. It's really kind of solidified. I think most importantly, I think it's solidified, and what I like to say is concretized my values, my own personal values, into the business. We're a small team, and it's just been superb. And one of the things I love about what the certification has done for us is it's allowed us to take on much more substantial projects with larger clients around the globe. And that's very hard to do, as most of you will know, in a smaller market like Winnipeg. So just as a quick note, we just went through our fourth recertification in April, and we scored 104.2. I love the 0.2. So it is possible to increase your score. And I'm just a side note, but I'm really thrilled to see so much interest in B Corps in Manitoba. And there really is a lot of work to do around social justice and economic equity, climate change and the climate crisis, and then employee well-being. Like, it really is critical to the work. So I'm turning this over to Suzanne.
Okay, going after Andrew, especially with Andrew's score. So Relish has been around just over 23 years. We have we're like an integrated agency. We have a staff around 20. I learned about B Corp when I was in Toronto, just around 2016, participated in an education technology acceleration program, part of a cohort there. And sort of that's the concept of B Corp was introduced to us. We met amazing technology companies that were certified. And I was really influenced with that. And, you know, coming back to Manitoba, I hadn't really heard about B Corp and didn't know anyone that was a B Corp. And then it just made sense for us. Like, we were giving a lot back to the communities. We worked a lot with a lot of nonprofits and charitable organizations. We had very accessible rates, did a lot of pro bono work, and the underpinnings of B Corp really resonated with our core values that we started with. And this was it sort of set the tone of where we wanted to be as a company moving into the future. So again, we started our certification in 2016. We were certified in 2017. And being a B Corp for us brings more meaning to the work we do every day, especially, you know, when you're dealing with like advertising and marketing. Sometimes it can feel a little superficial. So there is that connection to feeling like there's deeper meaning to your work sometimes. Yep, so then I bumped into Andrew, and, you know, again, last year we managed to pull together a group and triple in size. We're currently going through our recertification. I don't anticipate matching Andrew's score anytime soon. It's been a bit rigorous for us, especially with COVID kind of flipping the world upside down last year. But that time has also allowed us to sort of do a lot of reflection on, you know, this types of initiatives that we do in our office and how they align with B Corp, and just doing some really good work. Also, you know, trying to provide more efficiencies around our metrics and how we're reporting those, and our investment in the community.
So let's see. So you can reach us at these email addresses, probably no surprise. And let's see, we're really happy to answer any questions, you know, right immediately after our little presentation here. And then in general, like, I'm always willing to talk with anybody, anytime about B Corp.
Yeah, and so we've got great social media going on. We're trying to foster, so we'd love it if you connect with us on social. And then we also have a website that we popped up to, in which you can connect with us or one of the other B Corps. Again, we have a lot of different types of businesses on board, so whatever type of business you're in, there's probably someone that can relate specifically to what you're doing.
I'll stop sharing. Thank you, guys. And I'll turn it over to New Media Manitoba, I guess.
I'll just pop in briefly here, the voice of New Media Manitoba. Hi, I'm John Lay. I think we can just move over to the general Q&A session now. If Andrew and Suzanne are ready to pepper Michelle with some questions, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm curious from my standpoint, what do you feel the 5 easiest initiatives were to implement in your office that kind of align with the certification? Sort of your top 5 sort of easy things that you could implement.
Oh my God, gosh, easy. I think for me, I kind of almost felt like we started with we were already doing some things that were really great that we were able to keep points on, but what we started with weren't necessarily the easiest ones. And one of them was that ESOP one, right? There was a question around employee stock options, and at the time it was 100% owned. And it was like, hey, we really want this and this is important, so let's do it. And we wouldn't have done that without B Corp. So I think I don't know if that was the easiest because it was quite a rigorous process. But if you want something, you'll make it happen. And I feel like for me, I come from the community background. So the community category was sort of the easier one for me to tackle because we were already doing, we already had volunteer programs and donations and that aspect. And the other part too, that I thought were maybe the easiest for us was the workers category. For us, it was always extremely important to treat our people well first. And I think for us, often here out there, it's like, a customer first mentality. Well, for us, it was an employee first mentality, because if they're super happy and you treat them well, then they will take care of your customers. And so we always had that mentality. So a lot of our program, we've been best for the workers category for 6 years now. And because we want this to make it's an incredible experience for them. And then from there, it will be better. That makes sense. I don't know if there's any specific things under workers, but that to us was the easiest category to tackle.
Michelle, I have a question. Like, there are a number of technology firms on the call. What would you tell a tech firm, a startup, kind of in the early phases, first year or second year? And what would you tell them?
Do it now
Yeah.
before you've grown. If we had to start the certification process now at 1,000 people, I think it would be way more challenging. But because we embedded this and baked this into our very organization from almost the beginning, from when we were 10 people, it was just that much easier to kind of to set all these and put all these processes in place with limited number of people. So I definitely encourage those startups not to wait. Because there is a financial commitment for it to be a B Corp, but it goes according to your size, and so it's that's the one commitment. But on the other stuff, it's not a lot of it is you have to give away this and do that. A lot of it is like workers, and it's stuff that you can do without spending a lot of money. And so I do encourage people to look at it early if they can.
So being that you have over 1,000 staff, I'm just curious how you keep your staff engaged with your B Corp activities and initiatives. And I also know that a lot of your staff work remote as well. So how do you keep everybody connected and engaged?
Well, now 100% are remote, so that's always a fun one, right? It's a little bit harder. Actually, I read something recently. It's like rather than engagement, there's this alignment, right? Making sure that everyone's aligned, and you always have those values is the one thing where you can all align on, and B Corp is ingrained in that. It is a challenge to kind of get, everybody from all areas of the business are trying to get, message out about something. And so it is a challenge to get that airtime. There was just a B Corp month, and I know Emily ran, a little bit of a campaign around B Corp month and educating internally just as much as externally. But I also run a monthly session, a social impact attraction session for anybody new joining. And that's a really, really big and important piece of ensuring that everybody that comes on board knows that we're B Corp, what it's about, and all the programs and stuff that we do. So right off the get-go, we make sure that they are aware of B Corp and how they can contribute to it. We also have, this is a really good one, Suzanne, we have an impact ambassadors team. So our company is kind of broken up into squads of about 20 to 30 people. and each squad has their own impact ambassador, and we meet with them on a every second month basis. And so that gives us for two reasons. It gives us a pulse on their squad so they can bring it to us, and it also allows us to share information with that ambassador that they bring back to their squad that they feel is relevant to their group of 20 or 30 people. So as you grow, I do encourage everybody to kind of have one of those ambassador programs where they can share this information and do presentations to their squads.
I'd love to hear from other folks in the audience, but maybe just one question, Michelle, like around the BCorp community, you mentioned that, like, there's a Beehive, which is kind of an internal network for B Corps. And I'm just curious about BCorp community and how you interact, and if there's things that you've gleaned from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't think they've run it in a couple of years due to COVID, but there was always the large BCorp conference that was so incredible in terms of learning and meeting people that are, like-minded companies and really supporting each other to learn. I mentioned the Be Local events, which is really great meetings, kind of meetings of the minds for your local community and how we can each support each other. But also, like, there's other groups. I know that there's a climate justice group that is kind of not spun off. It's still within BCorp. And Michelle, Reed can correct me if I'm wrong here. But as we're going on this carbon neutral path, we are kind of able to plug into that. And there's BCorps local here, like Tentree, that we partnered up with to work on things in that space. And so to me, it's almost like this code of, like, if you reach out to another B Corp, it's like they respond and you help each other out. I really truly feel that that's a community that no matter what you need, it's going to be there for you.
Okay. Ajibola, you said there's a question in the Q&A box.
Yes.
Do you want to read it? I can't see it for some reason.
Okay, sure, I'll read that. What were the things you addressed for the 4 workers category, Michelle? What were the things you addressed for the 4 workers, that's FOR workers category?
Right. Well, so one of them was that the employee stock options plan. So that was one under workers. Another one, I mean, there's so many things that are in here, and it's kind of racked my brain in terms of which categories where one of them was subsidized meals. And that's always something that we've done at Traction. We've always had a lunch program. So that's another area where workers have had plans. There's one around benefits and flexibility. And so we've definitely scored really well and tried really hard to make sure that we provide the benefits that are really needed. And then another one is around our diversity metrics. And so this is something we've just launched recently, trying to figure out, how can we get a diverse and representative workforce. And so we have somebody that's dedicated to JEDI along with our people team to really learn and share and improve and also just have representation. I know our growth in Winnipeg, we really want it to be representative of the population that's there. And so there's a lot of these things that we can work into the workers category. Does that answer your question? Or, I mean, maybe Michelle Reed, you may have, some more insight into some of those questions, or I believe that you can kind of go on the BCorp website and kind of look a little bit more, and there's a summary of what more would be included in the workers category.
I've got a question, Michelle. It's John. Can you, kind of getting off B Corp topic a little bit, could you maybe talk about like what Traction's plans are in the Winnipeg market, if you're able to do that, or like how and maybe how that ties into B Corp, since you're kind of starting with a clean slate here as well too. So there's no existing baggage to kind of hold you down.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one of the initiatives that so actually my husband Greg is the CEO and founder of Traction. So we've been kind of seeing this growth from one up, and he's from Nelson, which is a small town in BC. And that was something that, he was really passionate about, like providing really meaningful work in different cities across Canada. And with Winnipeg, there was something, we have, one of our first conversations, John, with you and Andrew and Suzanne, was really around like Winnipeg is a very like incredible diverse, tight-knit community. And we're like, we want to be there. People that live there want to be there. They love it there. And it was like, let's go here. And in the last month, we've hired 16 people already. And with that growth trajectory, I think we're going to be growing, over the next year to 18 months, really looking to bring, people onto this fold. And like, we're all remote now. I mean, we've been 15 months. It doesn't matter where you are geographically. And when we think about representation and who we want to have, we also have a program called Traction Access, which we started last year, which we'd love to bring to Winnipeg. And it's a program that engages new immigrants and Indigenous peoples in tech training. And so we've ran 3 cohorts now of 20 people. And the whole, purpose is to introduce them to Salesforce, because there are millions and millions of openings in this market. It's just growing like crazy, and you can do the work remote. And so we would love to bring access to Manitoba and maybe engage people that aren't traditionally in the tech sector through employment, remote employment through Traction. So if that makes, did I answer your question, Jonathan?
It does, and it's super exciting. It's super exciting to hear.
Awesome.
Michelle, I have a question. Do you think Salesforce will become a B Corp?
Oh, that's a question for Michelle Reed. I don't know. That'd be pretty amazing. But they would be at a point. I mean, they're huge. I know that there are like Danone, there's a few larger companies that are starting to do that. But yeah, that's a good point. I should be encouraging them to do that. I mean, a lot of our original, when we started this 10 years ago, they had the OneonOne model, right? 1% of profit, product, and people's time. And so right from the beginning, they were already kind of doing a lot of that. And they've led by example in this space. They give a week off volunteer time. They are really involved. They've got Salesforce.org that really, they give 10 free licenses of their product to any registered charity. So we wouldn't be able to, that $2.7 million in service grants we've given, that wouldn't have been possible without Salesforce's free licensing, because the product wouldn't have been accessible to them. But because they made it free for anybody that really has 10 and that's how we're able to help. So Salesforce has been a great partner in that space. And so the next step, I guess, would be getting them to be B Corp.
Couple of questions on the chat here that I can fire your way. First one's coming from Adam, who's an old friend of everyone on the call here. As a small organization looking to become B Corp certified, do you have any tips for leadership on engaging employees in this process? Are there drawbacks, benefits, things to be aware of?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you go through the process, I really do feel like you're going to have to draw on many people in the business, right? I know Emily, she has been working everyone from the people team to the IT team to the finance team. So there are, I think, from the virtue of doing that assessment, you will engage a lot of people in it. When Michelle talked about the why slide, and I probably covered a bunch of those whys as well. That to me is how you go to leadership with it, right? And it's something that the social, it's changing the way that businesses need to operate. And we've had customers now, and not just the small, we've had large customers that expect this of us, right? It's, one of our largest deals that just happened over the last 6 months, we signed the Boys and Girls Club of America, multi-million-dollar, huge. We're doing all of their My Club hubs. So picture how many Boys and Girls Clubs there are in the US. Every single community in the US has a Boys and Girls Club pretty much. And so we're rolling out this My Club hub for all of these. And they're, through the process of them selecting Traction, it was asking, what are our diversity and inclusion policies? And they went in and they grilled us on all that, because they didn't want to work with a partner that didn't have that weren't values aligned. And so it's getting to the point where when we see RFPs, they're asking all these questions now. It's not an option. And so to me, it's like you talk to leadership about it as this is the direction that businesses need to go in, or we'll be left behind. And so I think that's a really great way to engage B Corp, because I think we often shy away from that doing good can be good for business, right? Some people think oh no, it's, but that it's okay to do that. We need to be okay with saying it's not the why we do it. We don't do it because we want to make the money, but it's just now it goes hand in hand, and we can have benefits to our customers, to us, and to the community altogether. And we need businesses to thrive. We can't expect them to kind of take a hit with this stuff that they're doing for the community. It can all happen all together. And yeah, I don't know if that, hopefully that answered your question. And sometimes it's challenging to engage all employees. And I think what's really important, what we found is that you can't force anything. And even Emily, when she ran an Earth Day sort of Earth Challenge campaign, and of 1,000 people, we had 150 people sign up. So you might think, oh, that's not a lot in terms of percentage, but that's 150 people, very engaged people that wanted to participate. So I think the important thing here is it's like, you don't always have to have 100%. You kind of reach out, see who really wants to be involved, and find a way to engage them in it.
And another one from an anonymous attendee. This is more kind of related to Traction. At the beginning of COVID, many companies had to fire or let go a lot of their workers. How did Traction in Demand pivot to this new reality?
Yeah, great question. And actually we drew a lot on values and our community programs when that happened. So when COVID hit, there was like that day, right? The day where like we were all in the office and the next day we all weren't. So that was a pretty big change. We had an entire workplace experience team that all of a sudden were like, well, now what, right? The office managers and so what was really, really cool, very rooted in values, is that we actually didn't have to let anybody go. We had probably about 40 people go on job share. So there's a program with the government that had, they paid 50%, we paid 50%. And then, you know what, we actually found our office manager at the time, she's now a customer success for one of our products, Better.me. We found, there's another workplace experience coordinator is now with our people team and has advanced her career in recruitment. So we were able, these are all great people, and we were able to pivot that. Now, some of our customers froze, right? We're like, oh gosh, we're not spending any more money. So a lot of our products were on hold. And so for a little bit, we're like, okay, we don't know what's going to happen. What we're able to do, we froze our donations and froze a bunch of stuff. But what we were able to lean into is our service grants program, because we had some projects that were on hold. So some people were kind of sitting idle, not doing anything. What we ended up doing is giving way more service grants to some of our larger nonprofit customers who maybe we wouldn't traditionally give grants to. And we say, you know what, we have capacity right now and we have the ability to give our time. And so we actually really leaned into our service grants program and provided a lot of support for some nonprofits that now, like, their digital transformation was now more important than ever, because they were all having to go online and their pivot was much more challenging. They were so used to serving in person and now they have to serve them outside of it. We even had developed a product in those first 2 months. So we have Traction Gather is now a platform, an online platform. And the original thought that we had was like, all these nonprofits can't do their galas anymore. We have to support them. And there was no money considerations. This was like, how can we get them? How can we figure out, how can we help them raise this critical funding that they need? And so now Gather is incorporated into our Traction Rec program, which manages rec centers for YMCAs and et cetera. So a lot of good, we were able to just like put the pedal to the metal. Like, we didn't freeze. A lot of companies froze. We went forward with our values and like, what's the right thing to do? And that's the approach that we took.
We do have a question, Michelle. During your presentation, you mentioned JEDI, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Can you talk more on that?
Yeah, well, I believe BCorp actually is the one that kind of included the justice piece after Black Lives Matter, because it was a really important part of the conversation that also needed to happen. So with equity, diversity, and inclusion, kind of our initial programs, a lot of it was, I think it's really gotten big over the last year or two. I'd say 5 years ago, there wasn't a lot of activity in this space, and you've probably all seen that. And now we have somebody dedicated on our impact team specifically to this initiative to really support our people team in ensuring that we have diverse that we're thinking about inclusivity and diversity when we have job descriptions, interviews, that we don't kind of have any sort of lens that we shouldn't have on. So that's been really great to kind of look at our internal policies in terms of JEDI. Also, we have bi-weekly JEDI sessions. So I believe Emily mentioned we just had one yesterday, which I was in tears. It was called the Immigrant Experience. And we had 3 Traction nights share their stories. about what it was like for them to come to Canada as immigrants. And it was the way that they just shared their stories openly and kind of shed some light and provided us the opportunity to be empathetic and understand, that was really beautiful. And I think, that's a really big piece of JEDI, is just, it's listening, it's sharing each other's stories, and being as inclusive and diverse as we possibly can, and knowing that we're much stronger when we do that.
So, Andrew, we're at the bell here. I don't know if you've got final thoughts or any closing remarks, but I'll just let you know of that we are getting close to the hour.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out today, and thank you to Michelle and to New Media Manitoba and to Suzanne, Emily. Like, it's really, this has been an amazing kind of show of force here, my only last little bit is just to say, please take the B Impact Assessment. If you're at all thinking about, becoming a B Corp, just jump in, it's free. It doesn't take that much time just to kind of get your kind of feet wet in it, and reach out to us locally or to anybody on this panel if you have questions.
And a thanks back to you for being so extremely welcoming with BCorp Manitoba, and it's an exciting community to be a part of. And also thanks to Emily for jumping in and covering me when I blacked out there. So sorry.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you to the two Michelles. Thank you to Emily again for jumping in, and also to Andrew and Suzanne for moderating the Q&A session. To stay connected with New Media Manitoba and to learn more about our network speaker series, please go on our website on www.newmediamanitoba.com to subscribe to our newsletter, and also check out our YouTube channel to watch previous recordings. If you want to watch this recording as well, it will be on our YouTube channel. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you everyone for joining us, the attendees for joining us today. I ask that you all stay safe and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks everyone.